What's up, everyone? It's your boy Mike, and God, that just doesn't feel right as a lead-in to a stage 4 cancer vlog. I watch a few too many cancer vlogs as a result of making these and being interested in the other content, and the energy for the intros is just not, the same as other types of content, which I guess makes sense. Cancer is a really difficult conversation to have, whether it's me talking alone to a, camera, or whether you're talking to your friends or family about a diagnosis. In fact, one of the dynamics I have come to enjoy in a morbid way over the last 6 years of being a cancer patient off and on is what I call the you go first conversation. I was actually talking about this with my barber today, if you all want to check out the magnificent fresh cut. But I was talking about how I think it's really funny when people kind of know your situation. This doesn't work if you're just cold talking to someone. You go, I have cancer, because then you're the asshole. But if someone kind of knows that you're dealing, with cancer or are in and around pockets of, remission back into it. For example, today when I was getting my haircut, my barber asked me how I was doing with it. I explained to him where I was, which I'll tell you guys in a second. And so I rattled off the specifics of my diagnosis and what the treatment is going to be. And then after about 5 minutes of talking, I was like, hey, what's new with you? And watching people sit and squirm, I mean, I don't really like making people feel uncomfortable via the cancer conversation, but I've done it for so long now that you got to find some sort of joy. So, rattling off all the specifics of a diagnosis and how it makes you feel and how it's really impacting your life, and going like, hey, complain to me about your job. It's a great conversation. Speaking of cancer conversations, last time I talked to you, it was to confirm a recurrence of stage 4 metastatic melanoma. There is a spot in a lymph node in my groin, but essentially we're treating it as systemic disease that needs to be treated with very potent drugs over the course of a year. In the video I made last week, I had just found out the diagnosis, even though I had been suspicious of it for several weeks. And I kind of gave you the layout of how I was feeling, what the implications were, and the generalized treatment plan that we were formulating. And today I have updates on all those things, and I'm excited to give them to you. You have to get good news some of the time, right? Last time when I was describing kind of the implications and how my oncologist described my case, he said, hey, I think the curative window for, eradicating cancer long term might be closing a little bit on my case, which is, it's demoralizing to hear that, even though I think I can go on living as a treatable cancer patient for a long time, even in that scenario. But like the pipe dream of a cure for someone who's 36 and otherwise healthy, it would be sad to have that go away. And it turns out it might not be. I also said that we're treating this as systemic disease, and while technically we are, like the treatment that we're doing is for, stage 4 in your system, not going away if you just excise a spot. But we talked with one of the leading melanoma specialists in the country, and his take was, because this recurrence is in a lymph node that was next to my initial metastasis site in 2018. My first site was in my calf. There was a metastasis to my lymph node, to a lymph node in the groin here. This one's right next to it. And so his theory is that because it's so close and it might be kind of a recurrence of that first spot, the most damage is probably localized, and that means there might be a chance of a cure just because of containment. There still was anyway, like even if we treated this as circulating my body, because it's been to some places. I've had cancer now in my parotid lymph node, in my iliac lymph node, in two inguinal lymph nodes, in my calf, a spot on my tongue. But the curative window still seems to be open. That is big news despite all the rambling I just did. That is why the word exciting is still in play. As we are treating it as systemic disease, it's going to be pretty intense despite the tiny spot and the perhaps notion that it is just localized and could be excised. And I'm recording this on a Tuesday. Everything that I'm describing will start tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and it will persist for a year at a minimum. Well, maybe not minimum, but barring anything catastrophic, the treatment will persist for a year at minimum. So tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, the first leg of this exciting year-long journey is that I will get a chip tracker injected into the lymph node of my groin. They're just going to take a little synthetic chip and just go, and it's going to show them where they can find it when the time comes to surgically excise it in about a month. So why a month? Well, they want to get me started on the treatment on Thursday, 2 days from now, and the treatment I'm doing is called PD-1 blockers. Basically, it is designed to help your T cells recognize melanoma and eradicate it quickly. And because it does work so quickly, I've been told that basically within a week or two, the spot will probably go away, and that means that the lymph node will shrink back down, but they do want to surgically excise it, because if the theory is that it's localized and you have better long-term outcomes by cutting out any sort of area that's affected by cancerous cells, they need to be able to find it. And instead of having to dig around, which, by the way, the first time they excised the lymph node in my groin, the surgeon told me that they did literally dig around to find it. This time, I think they're going to try and make it a little bit easier on me, even though it is very superficial. They just want to have a direct path to it, so maybe get a little bit more discomfort tomorrow in trade for a much cleaner surgery in a month. But yeah, PD-1 blockers until then. And so back to those, now that I think about it, I actually don't have a good functional understanding of how they work. You know, I have somewhat of an understanding of how immunotherapy works, which is it teaches your T cells how to target cancer better. That's what I just said. I don't actually think that's the mechanism that PD-1 blockers use. The one that I'm going to be taking is called Braftovi, which it starts with BRAF, which is the mutation of melanoma that I have. I think that PD-1 blockers, they work to block receptors on mutated cells that cancer can kind of pass through. It allows, these receptors allow cancer to kind of like cloak themselves to your immune system, and this just denies them entry that way. Again, that's probably a reductive and wrong description, and someone with better knowledge than me will probably correct me, but that's why I have, you know, an oncology team that I trust. That's why I trust researchers. That's why I trust modern medicine, and it's gotten me through 2 treatments before. And I'm only adding that and noting that out loud because I do get asked that question a lot. I get asked, you know, hey, have you considered like alternative treatments or holistic medicine? And it would be kind of crazy at your 3rd cancer diagnosis in 6 years not to look into some of these things, or at least address that question. Like, I do trust modern medicine. I do believe in modern oncology. It's worked very well for me twice, and I hope a 3rd time. But like, you know, there are theories that people have, or there is some supporting, you know, literature for some of the dietary stuff that you can probably give yourself a better chance. And so while I'm constantly looking into how to improve my diet, or, you know, the role of exercise, or the role of mental health or sleep or whatever, or even supplements that people are suggesting, I think that I'm going to try and, you know, stay to the plan that my oncologist has prescribed me, and everything else will kind of fill in the blanks. I don't view anything holistic as curative. I view it as, hey, maybe you can find, you know, slightly better odds by doing some of these things. So we'll see what I integrate into this year. That is the prescribed length of treatment for Braftovi and Mektovi. It is going to be 12 pills a day for 1 year. The 12 pills consist of 6 and 6. 6 Braftovi pills, which is the active PD-1 blocker, and then Mektovi is kind of a pill that you take to augment the efficacy of Braftovi while diminishing some of the side effects. This is new research that's coming out from a lot of oncology clinics that show that this combo gives you a better response and potentially a more durable remission. But again, this is me talking out of my ass a little bit. I just know that I got to take 12 pills every day for a year. There are bound to be side effects. I think it messes with your stomach, it messes with your joints, it can give you skin issues. Just like when I went into immunotherapy, based on the anecdotal stuff that I've heard from people who have done it, and or the website and my oncologist telling me about the drugs, it feels like I can do it, but I'm bound to encounter some stuff that I was not prepared for. Speaking of preparation, I would be a bad patient and kind of a dumb human being if I didn't have, you know, things that I've learned over the course of 2 prior treatments heading into a 3rd. And so I've spent the last month, you know, both brooding in the possibility of a recurrence and eventually acknowledging it, but then also I've decided that I'm going to take this time to prepare my body to be ready for whatever does happen during treatment. That means I've stopped drinking alcohol again. That means I have kept my diet considerably cleaner than it used to be. It's already pretty clean as a baseline, but like, you know, no more processed sugar. I'm trying not to eat restaurant food as much. I'm trying to make sure that everything I put into my body is going to help me be in the best shape, because during treatment, if you do get sick, you want to be able to withstand a beating, and you want to be able to like get back into things consistently as soon as possible. And the things that I'm talking about are, you know, taking care of your body via exercising. Exercise is 100% the highest correlation to better treatment response in almost every type of cancer. And I think that in terms of just keeping my life together personally, because basketball is my favorite thing and exercise is such a big component of my day-to-day, you know, well-being, and it keeps me sane, that I need to be able to do that even in the face of these adverse side effects. So me putting the work in right now hopefully will make it more tolerable throughout the next year. And finally, to marry the notion of tolerability with the time span of a year and what another round of cancer treatment represents, I think I should just tell you how I'm feeling, because I mean, that's why I make this vlog in the first place. You know, when I was first diagnosed, and actually when I had my recurrence last year, my initial thought was, I want to see more examples of people in my situation going through it. That's why I started making videos, so that other people, cancer patients and their loved ones, can see what I'm going through and understand that other people are going through these things. We don't have to feel alone, whether it's from, understanding physical side effects of now the PD-1 blockers or immunotherapy that I've done in the past, but more to the point, the mental health side of things is going to be very relatable in some ways, and right now the update is like, I feel considerably better than I did last week. It would be hard to be super positive the day after a stage 4, recurrence diagnosis. That's the last video I posted. And even right now, I'm still in a very weird space. It's been about 2 months since I recognized that this lymph node was inflamed, and the system works very slowly, even though I, am good at advocating for myself. I have a great team of oncologists. I have, connections that can help me move quicker, but like the process of getting seen, getting a scan, getting a biopsy, all this stuff drags out. So I've had to like sit in this very uncomfortable like spot of knowing that I'm probably headed towards treatment, and now I do know I'm headed towards treatment, and I just want it to start. It starts in 2 days, and I've gotten good news in the last week. So right now, this is certainly on the upswing emotionally, but that's, I'm sure, going to run into some, I would guess, difficulty as I start taking these pills and they start affecting my body, and I start kind of like realizing the gravity of what this year means and what another cancer diagnosis means. Like, it's easy to say like, oh, I'm going to be fine this time, because I think I will be. I think I'm going to make it through this treatment. I think I will enter remission in some capacity. I don't want to jinx it, knock on this piano, but like every time you go through this, your odds of long-term survival go down. It would be irresponsible for me to say anything other than that. It's not that I project for things to go terribly wrong, but like it's uncomfortable knowing that the more times I do this, the more exposure I have to ultimate existential downside. Now, I want to go through this year being positive, and I don't want to end this, video being a complete downer. So I do want to remind everyone, like, I think I'm going to be okay, if nothing else, because I'm stupid and optimistic. And I think that's kind of part of the mentality you have to integrate into an advanced cancer diagnosis. Without stupid optimism, we wouldn't get anywhere in life. And I truly believe that. So I'm going to sign off with some of that stupid optimism, and you guys are enablers for that. You guys help me feel optimistic. You guys help me feel a little less stupid about the optimism. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting me during this shitty time. I've gotten a lot of really, really nice messages from people, both in person and on this platform, as well as others. And it feels good to have the support of people who truly care. So if you've watched this far, you're one of those people. Thank you for spending your time to do this. If you want to like this video and subscribe to the channel, that always helps too. But in general, just thanks for being wonderful people who are helping me get through a tough time. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. Bye.